All right, guys, we'll get rocking and rolling here shortly. Looking forward to today's show. A lot we're going to cover on the program, and how about that UVA victory against Virginia Tech last night, man? And how about the unlikely hero Francisco Cafaro getting the player of the game nod? The guy was, the first half was a little rough, but Cafaro finished strong. 3 shots for Virginia Tech to either tie or win. 2 3-pointers and a tip-in rebound, all 3 miss. And UVA walks out of the John Paul Jones Arena with an important victory to go 4-2 in ACC play. The Virginia Tech Hokies fall to 0-4. 0-4 in ACC play. A lot we're going to cover on today's program on the Thursday edition of the show, including Spain looking to treat COVID like the flu, and Europe potentially pivoting to an endemic mentality instead of a pandemic mentality with COVID. We'll talk about that on the program. Manhattan, Big Apple rents in Manhattan are at an all-time high. I want to talk about that on the show. Ryan Serhant's take on crypto and how crypto is very soon to be a major player in real estate from a transactional standpoint. We'll talk about that on today's program. A lot we're going to cover, and we're going to continue a discussion that undoubtedly has gone viral on the I Love CVille network about underperforming corridors in the city of Charlottesville. Folks have asked Preston Avenue to be added to the list. So we're going to reflect on this from a very local standpoint. We're going to talk restaurants in the corridor, in each corridor. We will talk economic development in each corridor, walking in each corridor, biking in each corridor, family safety in each corridor. Do me a favor and give the show a like and a share now. Give it a like and a share literally as we speak. That would mean the absolute world to us. Hit the like button and share it with a friend and participate with some comments on today's program. We'll rock and roll in T-minus 10 seconds. For those that are watching instead of streaming, and we know many of you guys stream it in your cars while driving, for the watchers, look at the topics on screen of what we'll cover today on the I Love CVille show. Look at the screen and look at those topics and be prepared to chatter today on the show. We'll get Judah Wickhauer's fabulous perspective with a mic in front of him on corridors in this community. And we'll view and relay a lot of takes from viewers and listeners on the I Love CVille network who have contributed perspective on the most underperforming areas of the city and how we can make them better. Judah Wickhauer, 10 seconds, I can rock and roll. Good Thursday afternoon, guys. I'm Jerry Miller, and welcome to the I Love CVille show. Thank you kindly for joining us. We are live in Charlottesville, the Commonwealth, the country, and the world on the I Love CVille network, presented by Skooma Boutique Dispensary. The best dispensary in the city of Charlottesville is Skooma Boutique Dispensary on the downtown mall next to Rapture. David and his family at Skooma Boutique Dispensary, certificates of analyses for everything in the store. I'll give you a snapshot of what we will cover today on the program, including a number of various perspectives on our first topic. Cherry Avenue, High Street, and Preston Avenue. These 3 corridors we will compare and contrast, and we will ask which is the most underperforming and how do we make them better. It's a topic that certainly has gone viral across the I Love CVille network, and we've had perspective offered from business owners, from residents, and locals alike who live in each, who are offering firsthand perspective on what they are seeing. We will talk Spain, the country now treating COVID as if it was the flu and transitioning from a pandemic to an endemic, with something that undoubtedly has haunted us for how long, Judah? Why don't we get Judah Wickower on screen? Two shot for Judah Wickower, the director of the program. Haunting us since March of 2020. So we're going nearly 2 years of being haunted. 2 years of being haunted by this. We will talk about that endemic on screen. Judah, we looked up the definition of endemic the other day, did we not?
Yeah.
What'd you find?
Endemic is it's when something just becomes kind of the norm.
Get that mic closer to you if you could, please. When something becomes the norm?
Yeah, if something is endemic to an area, it means that it's often found there. It's typically found there. It's not a one-off. It's not it's been here for a couple months. We think it'll go away soon. It's just endemic to the area.
We'll talk about that, J-Dubs. I know you have perspective to offer on that. If you want to go back to the one shot, we have Manhattan Rets at an all-time high. Ryan Serhant championing crypto for real estate transactions, and UVA basketball squeaking by Virginia Tech last night. An unlikely hero in Francisco Cafaro, Big Pappy, was 16 points and 9 rebounds, 6 of 10 from the stripe and 5 of 7 from the field. Like most games, Shedrick, the big man, gets into foul trouble. Francisco Cafaro comes in and saves the day. UVA, now 10-6 on the season and 4-2 in conference play, with Wake Forest on the docket for Saturday. We will catch that Wake Forest matchup at the Boar's-Head Resort. If you want to get the link on screen, look at the URL on screen. If you want to buy tickets to Winter Wonder, I'm going round 2 with my family with what has turned into undoubtedly a phenomenal event for this community. Over 35,000 tickets sold, I learned yesterday on the I Love Seville show. Think about the economic impact Boar's-Head Resort has had through Winter Wonder on this Charlottesville and Albemarle County community. So a lot we're going to cover on today's show. I want to talk about Cherry Avenue, High Street, and Preston Avenue. Personally, yours truly, in a 10.2 square mile city, and that's UVA's, that's how big Charlottesville is. The city of UVA, the city of Charlottesville is 10.2 square miles. Me personally, in the city limits only, I identified Cherry Avenue and High Street as the 2 most underperforming corridors in our community. I identified Cherry Avenue and High Street as the most underperforming corridors for the following reasons. A, they have a lot in common. Here are what they have in common. Both feature a major employer, UVA Hospital for Cherry Avenue, the CFA Institute for High Street. Both are walking distance to the downtown mall. Both feature neighborhoods. High Street's got Locust Grove. Cherry Avenue's got Fifeville. Both are 2 lanes. 1 lane going in, 1 lane going out. Both are cut-through corridors where a tremendous amount of traffic utilizes Cherry and High Street to get to destinations as opposed to staying within the corridor. Both lack sidewalk consistency, and frankly, if you're parents of young children and you're trying to walk along High Street or Cherry Avenue, it is like playing Frogger. It is dangerous as hell. Both have bus stops, and I'll get to the bus stops in a matter of moments. Both are key channels or arteries for public transportation. Now, I want your take on this. Many folks have asked us to include Preston Avenue as an underperforming corridor in the city of Charlottesville, including friend of the program, visionary developer, Chris Henry. I'm going to offer my characterization of underperforming, and then I will relay some of the comments that are coming in from viewers and listeners of this network on what they see as underperforming. So, without further ado, I see underperforming as the following. Number one, unsafe sidewalk consistency, especially for parents walking with young children. As I said, Cherry Avenue and High Street, it's like playing Frogger when you're walking down these roads. And if you have a stroller or a toddler with you, you are very concerned for the safety of your kid. Not only are you grasping them by hand, but you likely want them tethered to your arm. It's that dangerous. Two, the bike lane consistency for Cherry Avenue and High Street is incredibly concerning. You ride a bike along High Street or you ride a bike along Cherry Avenue, you literally are doing it in a risk for your health and safety type of mindset. Three, both Cherry Avenue and High Street have tremendous stress, experience tremendous stress from commuter traffic. People are avoiding West Main Street, so they use Cherry Avenue as a cut-through. People are on Avon or Ridge and they want to get to the UVA corner, they cut through with Cherry Avenue. People are utilizing High Street to get from downtown to Pantops, from Pantops to the city of Charlottesville. The traffic congestion along High Street and Cherry Avenue is not symbolic of the residents who live there. Exponentially more cars, automobiles, and vehicles funneled through those corridors than actually residents that live there. Four, there are vacant lots with tremendous potential, in particular along Cherry Avenue, that are currently sitting decrepit, vacant, and frankly, epicenters for unsavory behavior. Both corridors have vacant lots that are epicenters for unsavory behavior. The saying is, broken windows lead to more broken windows. Well, vacant lots lead to more vacant lots, lead to more unsavory behavior. And that's just realistic in reality. Both corridors are underachieving from an economic development standpoint. I identified the tremendous amount of traffic that goes through, commuter traffic that goes through both. Yet you don't see economic development capitalizing on that potential customer base. Both corridors lack trees or environmental shade. You don't see a lot of trees along either corridor. You don't see trees or shade for folks staying, and that's number 7, bus stops that offer minimal protection from inclement weather. If you have to sit at a bus stop and it's 102 degrees outside with heat radiating off the asphalt and heat being created even more by tens of thousands of cars going by, you're less likely to take public transportation because the bus stop is not offering any protection from the heat, the humidity, and the sun. Furthermore, if it's raining outside, it's snowing outside, it's freezing, the wind is gusting, and the extent of the bus stops on Cherry Avenue and on High Street are a bench next to a post and not even a rooftop of overhead inclement weather protection, why in the hell would you sacrifice automobile transportation for bus stop and public transportation when you have to wait for 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes, however long the bus takes to get to the stop, and you're sitting in inclement weather suffering through heat, wind, rain, snow? So those are 7 reasons are 7 characterizations of why both are underperforming. Unsafe sidewalk consistency, especially for parents walking with young children, 1. Unsafe bike lane consistency, 2. Stresses on the corridor from commuter traffic, 3. Vacant lots with potential for development along the corridor, 4. Many of those vacant lots creating unsavory behavior. 5, underachieving economic development along the corridor. 6, a lack of trees or environmental shade along the corridor. And 7, bus stops that offer minimal protection from inclement weather. Now, interestingly, other folks have suggested, Kevin, I'll get to that comment. Kevin Higgins, good comment right there. Other folks, Ray Cadell, hello. Other folks have suggested that Preston Avenue be included along this corridor. I was surprised by that characterization or by that inclusion, but I'm open-minded to it. Judah, we'll go to a 2-shot in a matter of 30 seconds to get your take on this as well. Judah Wickhauer is our fabulous director. Preston Avenue certainly has more economic development than High Street and Cherry Avenue. Now, you can make a legitimate argument that Preston Avenue has stresses on the corridor from commuter traffic, but you cannot, from a sidewalk consistency standpoint, compare Preston to High Street to Cherry. Preston's got better sidewalk consistency. Preston also has better bike lane consistency and less vacant lots than Cherry and High. Preston has more economic development than Preston and High. Preston has a similar amount of lack of trees or environmental shading, and Preston's bus stops are relatively equivalent to Cherry and High. From my standpoint, and Judah, I'm curious of your take. Go to the 2-shot if you could. Are you going to go with this one? Are you going Cherry Avenue? Or are you going to go High Street?
You mean my highest?
What is your most underperforming corridor?
I mean, I don't really know enough about any of them, but I would probably go with Cherry if I just had to pick one.
Well, I mean, you've driven along them, and you can use your eyes to assess what's going on, like all of us. You know, the eye test.
I haven't been on Cherry in years.
Okay.
I would say the problem with Preston is that is the island. The island and lack of parking.
The island?
You know, the center island.
You don't like the island there?
I didn't say I didn't like it. I'd say that's the problem. That's what makes it an underutilized corridor.
Okay, I think that island is a natural divider of traffic. Let's focus on High and Cherry to begin with. What's your take on either one of those?
What's my take on why they're underutilized? I think they just haven't been developed as places to stop.
Heather Lehman Walker says Cherry Avenue speed limit is 35. High Streets is 25. Heather Lehman Walker, who I believe a former teacher, the only school in the city of Charlottesville where the school zone speed limit is still 25 miles per hour is Johnson on Cherry Avenue. All the other schools in the city of Charlottesville have 15 miles per hour speed zones. That is a fantastic comment from Heather Lehman Walker. I'll repeat that comment again. Cherry Avenue speed limit, she says, is 35 miles an hour. High Street speed limit is 25 miles an hour. Heather continues and says, from a school zone standpoint, the only school in the city of Charlottesville where the school zone speed limit is 25 miles an hour is Johnson Elementary on Cherry Avenue. All the other city schools have a school speed zone limit of 15 miles an hour. That is a damn good comment, and one that I did not think of off the top of my head. This from Matt Daring on our Instagram page, I Love Seville Instagram. The 3rd largest following in Central Virginia from an Instagram standpoint is I Love Seville. Get on Instagram and follow it right now. This is what Matt Daring, his handle, Matty the Gardener, smart guy. He has come on the show. Someone tell Matt Daring that I'm giving him props on the show right now. Matt, someone tag Matt Daring on the show. He said, I lived 1 block off High Street for 13 years. And I lived 1 block off Cherry Avenue for the last 4 years. It's easily High Street. It's not even close in my mind. He continues by saying, I love Seville, how you measure performance. It's a nice balance of people and the economy. A lot of people tend to peg in one direction or the other. I have found, though, that where people are emphasized, the economic development follows. People will go where they feel comfortable and they bring their money with them. Thoughts on that, JW?
That's fair enough. If you're not developing places that people want to stop at, then why would more people want to come and develop places that people want to stop at?
Downtown Mall is a perfect example of this. It got converted from a car-centric downtown decades ago to a pedestrian-centric downtown, and now the Charlottesville Downtown Mall is the crown jewel of the city of Charlottesville. Kevin Higgins on one of our 15 Facebook pages that are airing this show. In my opinion, the McIntyre Business Park has the most potential and totally underachieving. The proximity to downtown, UVA, the bypass, and I-64 is a home run. Kevin, well done. Props on that comment. I'm giving you props literally in the feed right now. I'm gonna further my take, and I'm curious of what you guys have to say. Scott Aaronworth in Virginia Beach, we love when you watch the program. Hello, hello, hello. My most underachieving corridor is Cherry Avenue. And I'll explain why it's Cherry Avenue here, succinctly, eloquently, confidently, and with facts and conviction as the foundation of my argument. A, Cherry Avenue is parallel to West Main, arguably one of the most important roads in the city of Charlottesville, top 3 certainly. It's like a 7-iron away from West Main. It's within a short hop, skip, and a jump from one of the top employers in the city, in the region, frankly, and UVA health system. Cherry Avenue has a park on it. Cherry Avenue has more vacant lots than, can you think of another street in the city of Charlottesville that has more vacant lots on it right now than Cherry Avenue? Can you think of one?
I can't think of one.
I cannot think of one that has more vacant lots on it right now than Cherry Avenue. Can anyone think of one? Cherry Avenue is a connector to the UVA corner and to the downtown mall. Cherry Avenue is a food desert, a grocery desert. Folks that do not have vehicles, that live in the Fifeville neighborhood, have the furthest walk to a grocery store than just about any locality in the city. What is the closest grocery store to Cherry Avenue? The Fifeville neighborhood. I'd say it's Reed's. Reed's, I would say, is the closest grocery store to the Fifeville Cherry Avenue neighborhood. Anyone disagree with that? You?
Sounds fair.
Reed's. You have tremendous economic development potential. You have tremendous bus stop improvement potential. You have tremendous environmental shade potential. You have tremendous biker, walker safety potential. And you gotta figure out a way to minimize the commuter traffic along Cherry Avenue. And to Heather Lehman's point, you got to make the argument, or you got to prioritize why Johnson Elementary is the only school in the city of Charlottesville, and she's a teacher, retired teacher, I believe. I believe her daughter's also a teacher. Erin King, hello, welcome to the show. Love you, Erin King. Why is Johnson Elementary, according to Heather, who is very legit with her Facebook comments, why is it the only elementary school in the city that has a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit when school is in or letting out or starting, when all the other schools in the city of Charlottesville, it's 15 miles an hour?
I think she said it was 35, didn't she?
She said the overall speed limit on Cherry Avenue is 35.
Okay.
And she compared it to the overall speed limit of High Street of being 25. So that's another point. Cherry Avenue's got a 35-mile-an-hour speed limit where High Street has 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. So not only do you have bad bike lane consistency, bad sidewalk consistency, bad pedestrian consistency, but you have cars going by at a 35 to 45-mile-an-hour clip, where on High Street they're going by at a 25 to 35-mile-an-hour clip.
Is there a school on High Street?
High Street does not have a school. There is a school once you get to Pantops. There's a school once you get onto Pantops, right past Freebridge. Actually, I take that back. You go from High Street to Pantops on 250. You go down 250, you're passing Papa John's on your right, and there's an elementary school there with a white fence that does a really good job around the holidays of putting light-up inflatables in the recess playground area.
Is that Burnley Moran?
Is that Burley Moran?
I think so.
Okay. I understand folks want to include Preston Avenue in there, but Preston Avenue's got a fabulous dairy market. Love Dairy Market, Chris. I love what you guys have done. Dairy Market is so A+, dude. And I love it. I love it. I love it. You got Dairy Market. You got the Shenandoah Joe's. You got Sticks. You got Mona Lisa Pasta. You got Rockfish Brewing. You got Integral Yoga. You got Bodo's. You got the Wendy's. You got the McDonald's. You got multiple lanes of traffic, and not just two. Two on either side of that grassy knoll median. So 4 lanes. And here's something that must be emphasized. And I'm going to cut to the chase here. This is where we have Marie Bett is off of Preston. Off of Preston, that's on Rose Hill. Scott Aaronworth, who's watching in Virginia Beach. Siren is off of Preston. We'll call that the Vinegar Hill Shopping Center, the old Shabine location. I'm going to cut to the chase and have a very real conversation, frank conversation with you. Okay. You could make a bona fide, legitimate claim and factually based argument, which I literally just did, that Cherry Avenue is the most underperforming corridor in the city of Charlottesville. And if you make that claim without highlighting the fact that it is a corridor that is the heartbeat road of a predominantly African-American neighborhood, a historically African-American neighborhood, then you're not making the argument the right way. And I'm talking about myself, not you. I'm talking about myself. Explain to me why the most underperforming, underutilizing, arguably forgotten, disregarded corridor in the city of Charlottesville is one that leads to and from a historically African-American neighborhood in Fifeville. Now, anyone who's driven through Fifeville recently understands that that neighborhood is gentrifying very quickly. And what used to be homes that needed tremendous TLC are now being torn down, knocked down, and newly constructed into $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 2021, 2022 houses. Why is the most forgotten demoralized, and economically depressed corridor, one that is the road that is the heartbeat of a historically African American neighborhood. What are your thoughts on that?
I would say ask the developers, ask the ask the city planners. When you want to develop an area, what do? Do you give discounts on people that want to buy and develop and build businesses on in particular corridors? What's the best way to draw businesses to an area? As we said before, if nobody's building businesses, which creates a desire for more businesses to come in and build their businesses, then who's going to start?
Good take. Good take. The entry point to Cherry Avenue is what? Coming off Ridge Street. You got two entry points that you see first when you see the Fifeville sign. What do you see?
I'm not sure.
You've never driven down Cherry Avenue?
It's been years.
Okay. This is what you see. You see Tonsler Park
Yeah.
on the left, and you see the former Kim's Market on the right. Now Kim's Market is the Charlottesville headquarters of a Shenandoah Valley construction company that is the preferred subcontractor or vendor for UVA construction. The Shenandoah Valley Construction Company chose to rent the Kim's Market old grocery store on Cherry and use it as its Seaville headquarters for its heavy machinery and its trucks, because it was pissing away so much money and wear and tear of driver and employee time and wear and tear of vehicles and gasoline and fuel costs. So they said, we'll just rent it here and we'll park the stuff, the heavy equipment and the trucks here.
They probably got it cheap.
Yeah, it was in terrible shape. Chris Kabash brokered the deal. Kim's Market, owned by a divorcee, a woman who got the real estate in a divorce settlement. You continue down Cherry Avenue as you head from Ridge to UVA Health. You're going to pass a Tiger Fuel on the right, many empty lots on the right. You'll pass the Cherry Avenue Shopping Center that has a couple of payday loan businesses. You talk about piranhas of business. Payday loans are the piranhas of business.
Can you really call that a shopping center, though?
What do you call the Cherry Avenue Shopping Center?
I don't know. It's a small parking lot with some businesses in it.
Small parking lot with some businesses, I think, is by definition a shopping
I
center.
don't know.
I think, what do you call it?
I don't know. It's just, does the shopping center have a name?
It's the Cherry Avenue Shopping Center.
Oh, that's the name of it?
Yeah, that is the name of it. It's the Cherry Avenue Shopping Center. I drove down there I drive down there often. I'm one of the commuters that cut through Cherry Avenue to get to places, as opposed to waiting in 5 o'clock congestion on West Main. I backdoored on Cherry, and then I come up Roosevelt Brown, and next thing I know, I missed that traffic congestion from the former Lewis and Clark Sacagawea statue all the way to the Amtrak, all the way to Continental Divide. That corridor is not only the most underperforming in the city, which I feel like I've made a very legitimate argument, but it is the lifeblood of a historically African American community. It's a food desert. There's no grocery store within walking distance for folks that don't have vehicles to ride in. If you are trying to make a candidacy or a platform to benefit the city of Charlottesville as a candidate, or you're in the affordable housing space as a nonprofit, or you're in the economic development space as a facilitator for said economic development, undoubtedly your prioritization should be from Roosevelt Brown and UVA Health all the way to Tonsler Park, Kim's Market, and Ridge. You take the speed limit at Johnson Elementary down from 25 to 15. You take the overall speed limit along Cherry from 35 to 25. You convert you take the vacant lots and you either incentivize them, the owners of those vacant lots, to make something happen with them. And you do it right away. Neil Williamson, president of the Free Enterprise Forum, shares the Cherry Avenue Small Area Plan from 2019 in the comment section of my Facebook page. Go to the Free Enterprise Forum, guys. Read what Neil Williamson writes. It's damn good. I checked out that small area plan yesterday before today's show, and this is what fascinated me about the small area plan. What fascinated me was the incredible community collaboration that went into the small area plan. Lifelong residents of Cherry contributed to the small area plan. What also fascinated me about the small area plan was the lack of stuff happening. The plan identifies what you need to do. And this plan was done nearly 3 years ago. And you look at the plan that was collaboration with residents, heartbeat of the community, people that lived there for generations. And then you look at 2022 now and realize very little has transpired. Who's to be held accountable for that lack of execution? Who's to be held accountable for that lack of plan to reality? Who do you light a fire under someone's tail to make something happen? Is this because of a lack of institutional memory in City Hall? Is this because of drama and soap opera nature of local government? Anyone who's watching this program that lives in the Cherry Avenue corridor should be undoubtedly thinking about this. The University of Virginia growing down Cherry like the University of Virginia is growing down Ivy Road. We were the first to identify for this community that UVA Foundation purchased Ivy Square Shopping Center for $20 million. And we know the plan is to connect grounds to the Boar's Head with a beautiful sidewalk, and I think it's a beautiful vision. Will we see the same academic development, not economic, academic development? Sure, academic development can yield economic development. Academic development undoubtedly can yield economic development, but academic development also yields what, Judah?
Prosperity? I don't know.
That's in that conversation. Gentrification. Academic development yields gentrification as well. Do we think the future for the Cherry Avenue Shopping Center, you've already alluded to this, is the Cherry Avenue Shopping Center? Or we think the future of the Cherry Avenue Shopping Center is office buildings for associate professors and or an extension of UVA Health?
I think it depends on who comes along and imposes their vision on the Cherry Avenue corridor.
Who's got the deepest pockets in the community?
UVA.
The foundation. UVA. Neil Williamson, per the small area plan demographics, it's the 6th most densely populated Charlottesville neighborhood. 1,486 households with 71% of residents renting. That is a damn good statistic. Neil Williamson, Well done. I'll read that again. Per the Cherry Avenue Small Area Plan from 2019. This plan is nearly 3 years old. A plan put in place 3 years ago with a fantastic foundation of community collaboration. A plan put in place 3 years ago through a community collaborative foundation, I hate to say is quickly becoming outdated because of inflationary times, because of supply chain shortages, because of cost of goods increasing in price, and because of a shortage of labor. So the vision painted in this 2019 plan is much less likely a reality now, 3 years later, because COVID has exacerbated a number of things. Labor shortage, cost of goods increased in pricing, fuel costs have gone up, money is less valuable now in 2022 than it was in 2019. Here's the statistic. The sixth most densely populated neighborhood in Charlottesville, nearly 1,500 rooftops, 1,486 households to be exact, is Fifeville and the Cherry Avenue corridor. 71% of those residents are renters. 71%. What does that tell you?
Tells me that it's low income.
Perhaps it tells you something about the financial demographics. Certainly a good portion low income. Certainly a good portion that work for the health system that want to walk there. I'm curious of how those demographics have changed in the 3 years since that plan was put together in 2019. I find it fascinating, planning and neighborhood demographics and development and how the city is changing. I'm fascinated by this. You got the two most affordable pockets. I'm thinking quickly on my feet. I'll say two of the three most affordable pockets of real estate purchase opportunity in a 10.2 square mile city, from what I can tell, the Fifeville neighborhood, some of the homes off of High Street, and some of the homes in the 10th and Page neighborhood. Someone correct me. You can include the Orangedale Prospect neighborhood in there. The four most affordable areas for real estate purchase, if you're trying to get in as a first-time home buyer in the city of Charlottesville, you're looking at Orangedale and Prospect, which is adjacent to Fifeville. Fifeville is also one of the most affordable. 10th and Page, one of the most affordable. And the real estate off High Street, on the right side of High Street, behind Jack and Jill's and like La Michoacana and Belmont Barbershop. The real estate on High Street behind the CFA Institute is extremely expensive. You're talking Locust Grove, Locust Avenue. That ain't cheap. That's $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 and over. Fifeville, Fifeville Neighborhood 1, Orangedale Prospect Neighborhood 2, the High Street neighborhood on the right side of High Street behind Jack and Jill's, Tubby's, La Michoacana, Belmont Barbershop, and 10th and Page, your four most affordable entry points for first-time home buyers in the city of Charlottesville. Do you know what all four of those neighborhoods have in common? Besides affordability, and affordability is relative. Affordability is not the same for everybody, and certainly affordability today is very different than affordability from 2019. All four of those neighborhoods have in common? All four food deserts. Have a hard time finding a grocery store you can get to on foot or easily from a public transportation standpoint. All 4 bus stops that offer minimal protection from inclement weather. All 4 lacking tree or environmental shade. The 4 performing legitimately, underperforming from an economic development standpoint. The 4 have stresses from commuter traffic. Prospect and Orangedale less than the other 3. 10th and Page is very much commuter traffic stressed. It's become a cut-through road even more than it was when I was in college here at UVA. Unsafe bike lane consistency, unsafe sidewalk consistency. In fact, you can make a legitimate argument that of those 4 neighborhoods, the Prospect, Orangedale neighborhood has the most quality of life performance of the 4. What's your take on any of this?
Yeah, again, I think it's vision. Who has a vision to do something with these places? If somebody came in and decided that they wanted to develop High Street, I think it could be very different. I think you could start some change, but who's going to do it?
I think it's got to be a local one, a local developer.
Well, yeah.
I mean, Shannon Worrell, the Worrell family that formerly owned the Daily Progress. Shannon Worrell is the visionary developer. Now, her family's got deep pockets. The visionary developer behind the 10th and Page development that includes where the Mud House is, where a Peloton station is, where Bowerbird Bake Shop is, where those 10th and Page apartments are located. You know what I'm talking about? That's a local developer. I think those 4 pockets that I've identified are frankly are somewhat under the radar that a big-time developer like a Orion Homes or a Stanley Martin that is now owned by an out-of-market, it's owned by the Japanese now, Stanley Martin. Those kinds of developers are not looking to deal with the red tape that comes from City Hall, the aggravation from Charlottesville government.
Nobody wants that.
A local developer would. A local developer would navigate have much better luck navigating that landmine and the patience and the nuance than a Ryan or a Stanley.
Maybe.
Interesting topics. I love stuff like this, and we'll continue to bring it to you guys on the I Love CVille show. A couple of other things that I want to get to that I found fascinating over the last few days. Spain, the country, its prime minister is now encouraging Pedro Sanchez, Spanish prime minister, is now encouraging Spaniards, and I'm very curious of your take. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez is now encouraging Spaniards to treat Omicron and COVID as an endemic. Have you guys noticed, and start keeping your ears open and your eyes sharp, the word pandemic is quickly evolving into the word endemic. Give us the definition of both. 2 browser tabs open. I want specific language here. Specific language. Watch as pandemic is evolving into endemic. And the first country on record, Spain, and its prime minister, Pedro Sanchez, is now encouraging the country to view COVID as an endemic and not a pandemic. After Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez made these comments, the United Kingdom's educational secretary, and I'm going to butcher this person's name, Nadhim Zahawi, first name Nadhim, last name Zahawi, Britain's educational secretary, told the BBC that the UK is, quote, on a path towards transitioning from pandemic to endemic. So, keeping up with the Joneses mentality, Spain's prime minister says pandemic to endemic. Said that earlier this week. Shortly after Spain's prime minister said pandemic to endemic, Great Britain's educational secretary told the BBC on record, our country is going, quote, on a path towards transitioning from pandemic to endemic, end quote. Judah Wickhauer, the definitions of both. Pandemic first, please, sir.
Pandemic is an outbreak of a pandemic disease, usually prevalent over a whole country or world. And generally speaking, it's something that eventually has an end. Endemic is an endemic plant or animal. As an adjective, it's, disease or condition regularly found among particular people or in a certain area, native and restricted to a certain place. So they're not exactly interchangeable. You wouldn't really say this is an endemic. Endemic is something that is a regular site or a regular part of
the flu.
Area. Yeah,
the flu. It's a regular site. You see it every year. You see different strains of the flu. We see it every year. You know why? We have the flu season. There's a season called the flu. Is there not?
Yeah, generally speaking.
So, listen to what just happened. Earlier this week, the top dog in Spain said we're transitioning from pandemic to endemic. Shortly thereafter, one of the top dogs in England said we're transitioning from pandemic to endemic. 2 days ago, the president of James Madison University said second semester as normal, JMU is going to start treating this as an endemic. The word endemic, heard it here first, is about to become the word of 2022. What was the word of 2021?
Effed? I don't know.
F. I would say the word of 2021 was pivot. 2020, 2021, it's slow cliche now. Pivot, right? Pivot. The word of 2022 is going to be endemic. It's a keeping up with the Joneses global population. When does the U.S. say it? Because when countries like the United States start utilizing that vocabulary, that verbiage, then the momentum really goes.
The pandemic's over, folks.
When does the U.S. start saying it?
They'll probably fold soon and do it as well.
That's a question. All right, a couple more items out of the notebook. Neil Williamson makes this comment. Very good one. For what it's worth, Keith Woodard may disagree with your suggestion that local developers are well positioned to advance projects in the city of Charlottesville. That's a good comment from Neil Williamson. And Neil Williamson's basing that on Keith Woodard leaving nearly a couple $1 million of underground infrastructure and walking away from a Water Street development project that was going to be the future home to the Charlottesville city market.
And he's not the only one that's
Many
had
have.
trouble dealing with building in Charlottesville.
Oliver Kootner won't deal with the city of Charlottesville. Oliver Kootner is allocating his financial resources and his sweat equity in Lynchburg and not the city of Charlottesville.
Yeah, because why deal with the pain?
I'm curious if the local developers are now more willing to deal with the city now that we've had turnover in council.
I don't know if council is all that,
Council's a big chunk of it. I'll give you its part planning commission. I'll give you its part lack of institutional memory due to the tremendous vacancies in City Hall. I'll give you it's the incredibly high price of dirt in this city because it's only 10.2 square miles and the supply is minimal. All that's fair. Perception is reality so much in today's society. And the perception in January of 2022 for government consistency and government reasoning and common sense, perception now is much different than the perception was even last year. You give me that.
so you're saying the perception is that city council is in charge of you know,
I mean, we'll cut to the chase here.
Production.
You had one person on council that was turning local government into chaos. And that person on council is no longer on the dais.
okay, but
The
how,
perception is one of reasonable consistency, level-headedness, cautious optimism, as opposed to the perception or the fear, good God, what is this person going to say next in a Facebook Live?
okay, but how big a hand do they have in some of the construction decisions?
They have a good hand. Planning Commission makes recommendations to the Board of Supervisors and to Council. And then it's up to Council to determine what they want to do. Council can kibosh something if they want. And so much happened in the previous 4 years where not good enough was the enemy of, what's the phrase? Good's the enemy of great? That's not the phrase. The phrase is,
Perfect is the enemy of,
perfect is the enemy of productivity, of production. Perfect is the enemy of execution.
perfect is the enemy of good. I think there are probably multiple ways of saying this, but
The reality is this: any additional housing for an ecosystem is going to have a positive impact on said ecosystem because it's going to open up more housing for people. And yes, if that housing is created at the top of the totem pole, the expensive price point, it's going to allow folks with tremendous equity in their homes to trade up and climb the totem pole, which would then open up medium level housing, which would then allow folks that are at the entry point to climb up to medium, and would open up low point housing or entry point housing for folks that want to get in the real estate game. What was the saying?
perfect is the enemy of good. It's attributed to Voltaire.
And so much of the last 4 years, that was the case. And speaking of housing, did you see the statistic where Manhattan rents are at an all-time high? Remember when we were talking on this show where early in the pandemic, the fear was the monumental collapse of densely populated urban environments like Manhattan? Remember?
Vaguely.
This was almost 2 years ago. We were talking this. We're talking like April of 2020. Well, get this, folks. This from CNBC, published today. The average apartment rent in Manhattan hit $4,440 in December, according to a report from Douglas Elliman. The more widely watched net effective median rent rose to $3,392, the highest level for December on record in the history of Manhattan. While many landlords are trying to work with existing tenants to limit the increases, some are being quickly priced out of the market they were finally able to afford in 2020, the tenants. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. The vacancy rate is 1.7% in Manhattan. In all of Big Apple, there's only 4,700 apartments available. Supply is so low that overall leasing activity fell by 40% in December. Bidding wars, double-digit rent hikes are reality now in Big Apple, in Manhattan.
So basically just asshole landlords.
Yeah, let's go down that road. Let's go down that road. Offer your take and perspective on this.
Well, it's greed. Am I wrong? I mean, somebody owns a place. Their cost going up?
Yeah.
How is their cost going up?
Because the value of the real estate is being assessed by government at a higher clip. And when it's taxed at a higher clip, the landlord has two choices. What are those choices?
Eat it or raise prices. But are prices going up so much, are taxes going up so much that they're doubling their rents?
There's a fine line.
That doesn't sound like a fine line to me. Doubling your rent, I don't see, that seems like...
They're not saying doubling. They're saying 20 to 30% increase.
I thought I heard doubling.
No, 20 to 30% increase. There's no double.
And that's...
20 to 30% increase is absurd.
Yeah.
You know I'm a landlord. I'm in the 4 to 5.5% range. And I'm low compared to peers because I want to maintain occupancy. It's the long game, not the short game for me. But 4 to 5% in a lot of scenarios does not cover inflationary times, cost of goods, labor increase, supply chain shortage. Installing an HVAC today versus installing an HVAC last year, good luck with that. Getting a generator today versus getting a generator last year, good luck with that. Finding an electrician.
Why is that?
Because of supply chain shortages, because of labor shortages, because of the increased cost of fuel, because of cost of goods going astronomically through the roof. When lumber gets more expensive today, fixing a wall that was destroyed by the previous tenant and having to build a new drywall in a room is going to cost more now than it did last year. And if it costs more now than it did last year, when you're turning over the apartment to get it ready for the next tenant, what do you got to do?
Fix it up.
What do you got to do? You got to raise the rent. So you got these landlords. Now, there's two different kinds of landlords. You got the mom and pop landlord, and then you got the corporate private equity landlord. Actually, you probably have three different kinds of landlords. You've got the landlords that have economies of scale. And by economies of scale, I mean a team in place that can go around and service a portfolio of rentals. Some of the landlords locally that have economies of scale, MSC, Woodard Properties, these guys have economies of scale. They got staff on the payroll to service their rentals. These staffs are paid a wage, and they go from unit to unit, turning them over and fixing them up. Then you got the mom and pops that own maybe one, maybe two. You got the next level up of that, which probably is where I'm falling in, slightly above mom or pop, certainly far, 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 far from the MSC, Woodard level. The mom and pops that have one, maybe two, they're the ones that are getting significantly pinched. What's your take on this? I know you got a take on this. We've talked about this. Offer your take from the last time.
I don't know what my take from the last time was. I mean, I still think it's a large part of it is just greed. I mean, and it feeds itself, which is the bigger problem, because like you said, it's what do you do when tax prices go up? Well, if the assessment on these places is rising because people are paying more for them, and people are paying more for them because the assessments are rising, it sounds like a kind of a vicious circle. And nobody's trying to stop it. Everybody's just going along, right? If we talk about Manhattan, I mean, here are places that are rising, prices are rising 20 to 30%. And is anyone trying to curtail that? Or are they just going along because they like making more money?
This is why
The problem is they create their own issues, because once the prices start going up, then the tax assessments go up, and then people start raising prices again. And this is why we get inflation, because of people that don't care and just blindly jump on with the rest of the pack.
So how do you fix it?
You're asking the wrong person. I don't know how to fix it.
I have some ideas. I'm curious of your take.
I mean, I think it would take better people owning property and not being not
This is how you fix it.
not acting like this.
This is how you fix it.
Okay.
One of the reasons I'm running for Board of Supervisors. You fix it by electing men and women into local office that have a keen mindset or intellect for small business and economic development. With a jurisdiction's yearly budget so tremendously tied to real estate revenue and real estate taxes, in some cases 70% or more of the jurisdiction's yearly budget is associated with tax revenue from real estate. The jurisdiction has no other choice but to increase taxes on rooftops to stay solvent. Instead, you need elected officials that can comprehend the concept of strategic economic development, which would then take the line item of real estate tax revenue and slightly lower, maybe greatly lower, its importance to the jurisdiction. If you have a jurisdiction that prioritizes economic development, new businesses, breweries, restaurants,
Then you're creating your
wineries,
own new tax revenue.
you're creating incremental tax sources, which could then lessen the strain or the importance of tax revenue from real estate. And if the tax revenue on real estate is not as important or as impactful on the yearly budget, you have a lower degree of gentrification. Furthermore, local government should be prioritizing other kinds of revenue besides just economic development. For example, sports tourism. Can someone explain to me why in Central Virginia, in Albemarle County, we do not have regional sports tournaments? Like where I grew up, I did travel soccer. My brother and I both competitive soccer players. We would travel to Greensboro and to Raleigh for 3 or 4 day weekends, extended weekends, for soccer tournaments, where mom and dad would book hotel rooms, restaurants, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, some retail when we weren't playing shopping. And then we left. We didn't tax infrastructure. We didn't wear and tear the roads down. We didn't have to go to school in Raleigh or Greensboro. We freaking left after spending our money. Why do we not have in Albemarle County sports tournament epicenter? Why is Albemarle County, with the University of Virginia right here in its backyard, not an epicenter for sports tournaments? Coaches at UVA could legitimately get 10 minutes away from their office at the McHugh Center, the John Paul Jones Arena, Davenport Field, Snyder Tennis Courts, Klockner Stadium. They can drive 10 minutes and watch a sports tournament and do recruiting in their backyard. And us, the community, would benefit. Why is tourism not prioritized even more? That is how you keep gentrification and rental prices escalating at unhealthy clips. Thoughts?
Yeah, sounds good. I mean, I think you also have to find a way to curtail the people that own the property, though.
I'm not one for government interfering
I'm not
with
for
the
one-
free market.
I'm not one for government interfering.
So you're
either, but-
basically saying the government should get involved and
No.
limit. Then how else could you do it?
I mean,
You're basically, you alluded that, and I'm playing devil's advocate with you. You alluded that the government should get involved.
I don't really think the government should get involved. I don't really know that there's an answer. I think
I just gave the
I
answer.
think you've got part of the answer.
I think that is the answer.
That might help keep property taxes down, but that's not going to keep people from raising the prices if they can.
The fabulous no, that would help. That would keep people from raising their prices.
I think our look at Manhattan is showing that people, you can't say that that's all because of taxes. I think what we're seeing is people that know they can get 20 to 30% more for a rental property, and so they're taking it. I think having a good hand on local taxes might help slow that down, but I don't think it's an answer to what's going on in places like that.
Kevin Higgins, fabulous watcher of this program, love Kevin Higgins. He says, I think Phil Delaney has MSC and Woodard all beat from a total unit rental standpoint. That may be a topic for a future show. Phil Delaney having the most potential rentals in the Charlottesville, Central Virginia area, even more so than MSC and Woodard. Good comment right there. I'll look into that, Kevin Higgins. He also adds, and the enormous UVA Ortho Sports Center being built by Vivanci will have an impact on this community. Neil from Fox Business. Median rental prices in the United States rose from $1,659 to $1,859. We're talking a $200 a month increase between October 2020 and October 2021. $200 increase. That is over 10%, roughly 13%, according to the Zillow Observed Rental Index. Oh, I was right. That's a 12% increase in just 1 year. And then he puts the source as Fox Business. That's in the comment section on my Facebook page. Another great comment from Kevin Higgins. Another great comment from Neil. Janice Boyce Trevelyan, watching in Louisa County, says this. Check Nelson County people up there. They say their tax assessments are coming in way over what they were. They are asking for reassessments. They say the assessments are being outsourced and not our actuality or reality. Janice, I love when you contribute to the program. Two other topics. Keith Smith, Keith, I think you are watching, sent me this link. Ryan Serhant of $1 Million Listing, New York. In a public forum on the record, in a mastermind type of scenario, believes cryptocurrency will quickly become one of the primary transactionary methods for real estate in our country.
I think it needs to stabilize first.
You say it has to stabilize first?
Yeah.
I think it has to finish your thought. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I apologize.
If take Bitcoin. If it's worth 46,000 and the next day it's worth 56,000 or 36,000 or 26,000, how do you use that to purchase anything? How do you use that as a transactional medium when it can fluctuate from, twice to half to, 3 times its worth in a matter of days?
I think that's a very good comment. Excellent comment. Your best comment here on the show. That one right there. Well done. I think on top of stabilization and consistency, essentially Bitcoin, I don't want to use the word integrity, I guess value consistency is a better description. I think on top of that, it's got to be more approachable, or approachable from a transactionary situation.
Like having a wallet app on your phone.
Exactly.
You just double click your.
That's
phone,
exactly what I'm saying.
Hold it up against the scanner, and you
Bingo.
just bought your groceries with a few fractions of
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Whether it's a Bitcoin credit card, you know how like the Visa now, it's like tap to pay on the machine,
Yeah.
and you're not even swiping it. Mm-hmm. It probably doesn't even need a card because the card could be unsafe. Eventually, Bitcoin and how we make payments are going to be a fingerprint on our finger.
That's scary.
And it's going to be us going to grocery stores, or it's going to be AI and reading our eyes. And us going to grocery stores and an AI scanner is reading our eyes, or it's a fingerprint on a machine for us to make payments. Because if Bitcoin's associated with a credit card or crypto's associated with a phone and your phone is stolen, you risk losing your wealth and your fortune.
Yeah.
I would hope to God criminals are thinking much more cautiously about chopping someone's finger off or gouging their eyeball out as opposed to stealing their iPhone or their credit card. I would think there's a level of, there's a moral threshold associated with gouging someone's eyeball out or chopping their finger off versus stealing their credit card or their iPhone. You would think that, right?
Well, now we've got facial recognition. I was just thinking this the other day. Would it work with a photograph of you?
Well, here's the thing. One of my tenants tried to pay their rent and said, I can't come into work today. You know, I'm sick, there's snow. This was during snowpocalypse. And they didn't want a late fee. So you know how they paid their rent? They took a picture of their check at their house, the front and back.
Sent it to you so you could
Texted it to me.
mobile deposit?
And I mobile deposited it that way.
Yeah,
That's how they paid their rent.
smart.
And they didn't get a late fee. But I'm a benevolent landlord. I would not have charged the late fee. This is where you roll your eyes.
I didn't roll them.
I didn't roll them. Kevin Higgins says Dish accepts Bitcoin for payment. Think about that. Venezuela, it's the official currency of Venezuela.
At least they have a currency.
What? Dish or Venezuela?
Venezuela.
Yeah. So until Bitcoin, we say, is stable, and until there's a transactionary methodology that's approachable and easy to use, Ryan Serhant's prediction of, that's an incredible photo right there. If you go to are you on my Facebook right there? If you go to my Facebook Messenger, look at the Facebook Messenger direct message picture. Kevin, you made us better today. Look at the photo he sent from Dish and how it's a payment method now, Bitcoin. And if you can get that on screen, that would be amazing. Please, sir. Give me the thumbs up if you could. Or just, now that we have the microphone and the arm in front of you, just say it's on screen, viewers and listeners. We're gonna let you know when this is on screen. Dish, the cable provider, allows people to pay for their cable with Bitcoin now. That is effing crazy. Ryan Serhant, $1 Million Listing, says it's going to hit the luxury market first. Bitcoin as a transactionary payment methodology. And we all know once it hits luxury, it's going to trickle down to middle point, entry point, and eventually the rental scene. Give me the thumbs up when it's on there. 3 other items out of the notebook, and then we'll close. Hey, Higgins, you made us better today, homie. I sincerely mean that. Mamadi Diakite, the former UVA basketball player. It's on screen. Look at the screen. Look at the screen. Look at the screen. Look at the screen. Dish, Bitcoin, pay your monthly bill. Can you think of another monthly utility that is offering Bitcoin as a payment method?
I can't think of one.
I cannot think of one. I cannot think of one. What business can you think of that you can pay today with your Bitcoin, with your crypto? Can you think of one?
I thought we just said we can't think of any.
In the city of Charlottesville, I cannot. Can anyone in the city of Charlottesville, Kevin Higgins just proved Dish is allowing it. Can anyone in the city of Charlottesville within city of Charlottesville limits pay for something with crypto?
I haven't heard of anything, but who knows? There may be somebody that is willing to do that.
Is anyone accepting crypto as a method of payment in the city of Charlottesville? I'm curious to know that answer right there. Very curious. Bill McChesney says, no implants, no tattoos, oh heck no. I said this earlier, Facebook, now Meta, has partnered with Ray-Ban, the sunglass company, and they're putting out a sunglass like the Wayfair sunglasses or the aviators that literally look like the Ray-Ban aviators that we know or the Wayfairs that we know, but they are AI, metaverse, social media sunglasses. So now the technology is getting so approachable that you could be walking down Market Street and someone could be coming down the other way from you on Market Street in front of our studios, and they could be wearing Ray-Bans, and they can be tapping the temple of their sunglasses and taking pictures of you and posting it on social media as they walk by you, and you would never know. That's effing crazy. Mamadi Diakite has signed a 10-day contract with the Oklahoma City Thunder. He overcame a hip injury to sign that contract. This now puts, and I'm going to look very quickly, hold on. It's on my phone. I believe 12 Wahoos in the National Basketball Association. Let me rattle off that list. I have it on my phone here. Braxton Key, Philadelphia 76ers. Justin Anderson, Indiana Pacers. Kyle Guy just got a second 10-dayer with the Miami Heat. Jay Huff with the LA Lakers. Sam Hauser, Boston Celtics. Trey Murphy, New Orleans Pelicans. Anthony Gill, Washington Wizards. Ty Jerome, OKC Thunder. Dre Hunter with the Hawks, Malcolm Brogdon with the Pacers, Joe Harris with the Nets, now Diakite with the OKC Thunder. That's 12 Wahoos, 12 Tony Bennett proteges in the National Basketball Association. And how about the win last night against the Virginia Tech Hokies, 54-52 for Bennett's boys. They are 10-6 on the season, 4-2 in conference play. The Hokies had 3 shots in the final 8 seconds of the game to either tie the game or to win the game. 2 3-pointers and a rebound tip-in, all 3 missed. The unlikely hero, Francisco Cafaro Big Papi. The bruiser is Cafaro Argentinian? I believe he's Argentinian. Let me do a quick search on that. If memory serves correct, Cafaro is Argentinian. Yep, Santa Fe, Argentina. 7'1", 240, Big Papi went off for 16 and 9. Nearly a double-double. 5 of 7 from the field. Undoubtedly the Wahoo's best scoring option in the game against Virginia Tech. If I had ever told you that Francisco Cafaro was going to be the best scoring option for the Virginia men's basketball game, you would have laughed at me. But last night, he was a dominant force. Shedrick once again gets in foul trouble. He registers a goose egg with 0. Gardner finishes with 4 points on 2 of 10 shooting from the field. Still, the Hoos are 10-6 on the season, 4-2 in conference play, with Wake Forest on the docket Saturday, 4:30 p.m. tip. Good win, Tony Bennett. Very good win. All right, that is the Thursday edition of the show. I hope you enjoyed it. We enjoy connecting with you guys through this platform. Dude, Judah and I work very hard to deliver this content to you. Very hard. And the only thing I ask in return is you guys to hit the like button on whatever social media platform you're watching upon, or share it with a friend. Neil Williamson and Kevin Higgins and Janice Trevelyan. You guys made us better today with your perspective and comments. I thank you genuinely from the deepest pockets of my heart for contributing and participating in the discussion of the show. For Judah Wickhauer, I'm Jerry Miller. This is the I Love Seville show. Until tomorrow, my friends. Keith Smith is back at 10:15 tomorrow. Can't wait to see you, distinguished gentlemen. I've missed you. Keith Smith back tomorrow at Real Talk, 10:15 a.m. Then the I Love Seville show at 12:30. Hasta luego.